1. Be the calm she rarely finds in a world filled with constant noise, stress, and emotional overwhelm. Calmness is rare and powerful. Most people, including women, go through their day facing pressure, deadlines, social expectations, personal struggles, and mental noise. They're surrounded by opinions, comparisons, and distractions. It's exhausting now. Think about this: most men unknowingly add to that chaos. They bring emotional reactions, over-communication, or unnecessary pressure into the connection. But when you become the opposite, calm, composed, and peaceful, you immediately stand out. Being calm doesn't mean being emotionless. It means you don't get pulled into every emotional wave. You don't argue over little things. You don't need to prove a point every time. You listen without interrupting. You observe more than you react. That creates a space where others feel safe. For a woman, this calm presence becomes refreshing. While others drain her energy, you help restore it. She starts to associate you with mental clarity, with ease, with balance. That emotional impact is far deeper than looks or charm. It lingers. Stoicism teaches this principle deeply: stay centered, no matter the situation. Like Marcus Aurelius, who led with poise during conflict, you can learn to lead with peace in everyday life. When she thinks of you, she recalls how she felt in your presence, relaxed, understood, and at peace. That emotional safety is not just attractive, it's unforgettable. Be the calm she can't find anywhere else, and you'll stay in her thoughts without saying a word. 2. Embrace quiet confidence. Doesn't always speak loudly. In fact, the most powerful form of confidence is often the quiet kind, the kind that doesn't need to prove anything. This is what makes a man truly magnetic. While many try to impress with words, attention-seeking behavior, or constant updates, the man who moves with silent certainty stands out effortlessly. Quiet confidence means you're comfortable with who you are. You don't feel the need to overshare your life story on the first conversation or constantly explain your feelings. You don't chase approval or try to impress with exaggerated stories. Instead, your energy speaks for you, calm, composed, and self-assured. When you hold back a little and let things unfold naturally, you create something rare: curiosity. People, especially women, begin to wonder about you. What's on his mind? Why does he feel so grounded? What's behind that calm expression? That mystery isn't a game, it's the result of a man who's secure in his identity. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, silence is a lesson in itself. Your silence shows discipline. It reflects a mind that's not distracted by the need for external validation. Instead of trying to prove your worth, you allow your actions, your calm energy, and your consistency to speak on your behalf. And the result? You stay on her mind not because you pushed for attention, but because you left space for wonder. That quiet strength is what makes you truly unforgettable. 3. Build a life of purpose. With or without her, one of the most attractive things a man can do is live a life filled with purpose regardless of who is watching. Many men make the mistake of putting their personal growth on hold. As soon as they start liking someone, they rearrange their schedule, abandon their goals, and begin orbiting around her life. But in doing so, they become predictable, overly available, and eventually forgettable. If you want to stay on her mind, don't center your world around her. Center it around your purpose. Build a life that excites you. Pour your time into your goals, whether it's learning a new skill, pursuing a passion, developing your career, or strengthening your body and mind. When you do that, you're not avoiding her, you're becoming a man worth remembering. Why does this work? Because people are naturally drawn to movement. A man on a mission becomes intriguing. His focus, his drive, and his independence create emotional distance, not in a cold way, but in a way that creates healthy space. That space builds curiosity. She begins to wonder what you're working on, what you're thinking about, and who you're becoming. Marcus Aurelius didn't wake up seeking praise. He focused on becoming better for himself and for the people he led. When you adopt that mindset, you stop chasing attention and start attracting it. Live a life that fulfills you, whether she joins you or not. When you do that, you become the kind of man who is remembered not for trying to impress, but for living fully. 4. Balance. Presence and absence. Connection is important, but so is space. Many men believe that if they stay constantly present in a woman's life, she'll think about them more. But that's not how the mind works. When something is always available, it often fades into the background. What truly captures attention is contrast, the rhythm of presence and absence. When you're with her, be fully there. Give her your focus. Listen attentively. Make the time feel meaningful and undistracted. Those moments of genuine connection where you are completely present leave a strong emotional impact. But once that moment passes, step back, let it breathe. Let her sit with the memory of your presence. This space allows her to reflect on what just happened. She begins to remember how she felt around you. She might smile at a memory, recall something you said, or simply feel the peace you brought. That reflection creates emotional depth. It makes her miss you, not because you're playing games, but because you're not always trying to extend every moment. Think of it like a beautiful piece of music. The silence between notes is just as important as the notes themselves. Too much noise and the beauty disappears. A Stoic man understands this rhythm. Like Marcus Aurelius returning to solitude after leading, you too must learn when to connect deeply and when to return to your path. When you master this balance, you create something rare, a presence that lingers, a memory that returns. And that's how you quietly stay on her mind. 5. Respond with patience, not emotion. At some point, you will be tested. Maybe she says something sharp. Maybe she pulls away slightly or questions your decisions. These moments are not meant to break you, they're invitations to reveal your character. Most men, unfortunately, respond with frustration or emotional overreaction. But the man who stays calm under pressure, he becomes unforgettable. Responding with patience doesn't mean staying silent out of fear. It means taking a breath before you speak. It means choosing your response instead of reacting impulsively. This kind of self-control is deeply respected. Stoic philosophy reminds us, it's not the event that disturbs us, but our judgment of it. So when you feel triggered, pause. Ask yourself, why does this bother me? Am I reacting to protect my ego, or am I responding with clarity? Imagine you're having a conversation and she questions your intentions. Most men would get defensive, but a calm man might simply ask, why do you feel that way? Or even say nothing at all, allowing silence to settle the moment. That response shows strength, not just physical, but emotional, and it leaves a lasting impression. People remember how you made them feel in tense moments. If you brought calm instead of chaos, patience instead of pressure, you stand out. So stay grounded. Don't chase control or rush to be understood. The man who stays composed when challenged sends a clear message. He leads himself first. And that kind of quiet leadership is something she won't forget. 06. Let her earn your attention. Most men give their attention too easily. They compliment too quickly, respond instantly, and constantly try to prove they're different. But when attention is freely given, it loses its value. What's abundant becomes overlooked. What's earned becomes desired. Stoic men understand this well. Your time, your focus, your energy, these are sacred. You don't just give them away because someone looks good or gives you a little affection. You observe, you evaluate, you ask silently, does she align with my values? Does she bring peace or chaos? Letting her earn your attention doesn't mean being cold or arrogant. It means you carry standards. You don't just seek to be liked, you choose who you like, and that mindset alone is powerful. It shifts the dynamic from chasing to choosing. This doesn't go unnoticed. Women are intuitive. When they sense that your world doesn't revolve around them, but that you're open to letting someone into it, if they prove themselves, it creates a challenge, a curiosity, a quiet question in her mind. What would it take to truly earn his attention? And that question keeps you on her mind. Epictetus said, know what you control and what you don't. You can't control who likes you, but you can control who receives your attention. When you become intentional about it, your presence becomes a reward, not a given. She won't forget the man who made her feel seen after she earned it, not before. 7. Speak less. Show more. In today's world, words are cheap. Everyone talks about what they want, what they'll do, who they are, but few truly follow through. The man who speaks less and lets his actions speak louder becomes and unforgettable. Instead of telling her you're confident, show it in how you walk, how you handle pressure, and how you stay calm when others lose control. Instead of saying you're ambitious, let her see your discipline, your late nights working towards something bigger, and your ability to delay pleasure for purpose. Show, don't tell. This principle is deeply Stoic. Marcus Aurelius never bragged about being emperor. His actions, writings, and daily discipline proved his character. Seneca said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it. That's your path." When you speak less, every word you say holds more weight. You avoid over-explaining, over-apologizing, and trying to convince someone to like you. You create space for others to lean in, to notice, and to wonder. The less you reveal through words, the more she will observe in your behavior. Your silence becomes a canvas where your consistency paints the picture. Remember, silence isn't emptiness, it's power under control. And when paired with meaningful action, it's magnetic. She will remember the man who didn't need to say much because what he did was more than enough. Let others speak to be heard. You act to be remembered. Point 8. Master emotional detachment isn't about being cold, it's about staying grounded. It means you don't let your moods, desires, or her behavior control your inner peace. Most men fall into emotional chaos when they feel ignored, tested, or uncertain. But a stoic man remains unmoved, not because he doesn't feel, but because he controls what he allows to disturb him. Detachment gives you clarity. You no longer overthink her texts, analyze her tone, or panic when she pulls away. Instead, you observe. You understand that her actions are hers to control, not yours to react to. You return to your purpose. You stay composed, focused, and centered. This calm independence is powerful. Women notice it immediately. While others seek constant reassurance, you stand firm in yourself. And that makes her wonder, why is he so stable? Why doesn't he chase validation? What's going on inside him? Emotional detachment allows you to respond with logic, not impulse. If she's distant, you don't beg. If she's hot and cold, you don't complain. You remain the mountain still, strong, and unaffected by storms. As Epictetus said, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Detachment keeps your imagination in check. It protects your energy. It prevents you from reacting in ways that lower your value. And most of all, it keeps you on her mind. Not because you forced yourself into her thoughts, but because your silence, your stillness, and your emotional strength echo long after you're gone. 9. Walk away when needed without warning. One of the most powerful moves a man can make is to walk away silently when respect is no longer present. Not with drama, not with explanation, just calm, quiet absence. It shows you value yourself more than any temporary connection, and that kind of self-respect stays with her far longer than any words you could say. You don't walk away to punish her. You walk away because the energy no longer aligns. You've seen enough. The inconsistency, the disrespect, the lack of effort. It doesn't need a reaction, just distance. When a woman sees that you're willing to leave without begging, without chasing, without needing closure, it creates a deep realization. You were never dependent on her presence. You were choosing her. And now, you're choosing peace. This isn't about playing games, it's about protecting your standard. A stoic man does not try to convince someone to treat him well. He simply removes himself from anything that weakens his purpose or disturbs his inner state. Seneca once said, "If you really want to escape the things that harass you, what you're needing is not to be in a different place, but to be a different person." That person, the one who walks away with quiet certainty, is unforgettable, because long after you're gone, the silence you leave behind speaks louder than anything you ever said. And the question that lingers in her mind becomes, why did he walk and why do I still feel it? 10. Be a mystery, not a map. Predictability is comforting, but it rarely creates attraction. If she feels like she can figure you out within a few days, the intrigue fades. But when you carry yourself with depth, restraint, and quiet confidence, you become a mystery, and mystery is magnetic. A stoic man doesn't he doesn't feel the need to constantly explain his past, his plans, or his emotions. He reveals things slowly, naturally, when trust is earned. He isn't hiding, he's simply not performing. And that subtle difference sets him apart. Being a mystery doesn't mean being distant or cold. It means you live a life so full, so grounded in purpose, that she can't quite access all of it. She catches glimpses of your discipline, your ambition, your silence, but not the whole picture. And that keeps her curious. That keeps her thinking about you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." A man who is constantly chasing, explaining, and over-communicating becomes transparent. But a man who holds back a little, lets silence speak, who smiles without explaining why, he becomes unforgettable. You don't need to say, "I'm different." Let her discover it in the way you carry yourself, in the parts you don't show, in the pauses between your words. The mystery isn't about deception, it's about restraint. And in that restraint, she feels something rare, the presence of a man who is complete with or without her, and that's what makes her want to know more. 11. Have a mission that's bigger than Hera. Man without a mission is a man who will be lost in love. He will chase, cling, and overvalue someone else because he has nothing bigger to serve. But a man with a mission, he's dangerous in the best way, not because he's reckless, but because he's focused, grounded, hard to shake. When you have a purpose greater than a relationship, whether it's building something, mastering a craft, or living with deep values, you become centered. She is no longer the center of your universe. She becomes a part of your story, not the whole book. And that shift is powerful. Women respect men who are driven, not just by money or success, but by meaning. When she sees that your life is moving forward, with or without her, it creates gravity. She doesn't feel your neediness, she feels your direction. Stoic wisdom teaches this. First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. You define yourself. You choose your mission. And then, no matter who enters or exits your life, your path remains. When your mission guides your decisions, you don't compromise your standards to keep someone. You walk your path. You rise early, stay disciplined, and move with purpose. She will notice, because a man on a mission is not easily distracted. He is not easily controlled. And that kind of man is not only rare, he's unforgettable. She won't stop thinking about the man who made her feel something bigger, simply by living for something beyond her. 12. Be calm in chaos. It makes you irresistible in moments of tension. When emotions are high, when uncertainty strikes, most people react. They raise their voices, defend their ego, or panic under pressure. But the man who stays calm in chaos, he stands out. His silence isn't weakness, it's command. His stillness, a quiet display of power. When you stay calm during arguments, delays, or unpredictable shifts in her mood, you send a signal: I'm in control of myself. That signal is rand deeply attractive. It makes her feel emotionally safe, even when things are stormy. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. A Stoic man doesn't fight for control of the external. He owns the internal. He controls his breath, his tone, his thoughts. This doesn't mean you suppress everything. It means you slow down. You respond instead of react. You observe before you speak. And in that space between stimulus and response, you reveal your strength. When she tests your patience, when life throws challenges at you, your ability to remain unmoved speaks louder than any charm or looks ever could. Because in that moment, you show her something most men never do: emotional leadership. And once she experiences that calm, she remembers it. She remembers how you didn't fold, how you didn't fight fire with fire, how your quiet confidence settled the chaos. That energy, stable, unshakable. Masculine is rare, and rare is unforgettable. Stay calm. That's when she starts seeing you as more than a man. She sees you as a force. 13. Don't try to impress, just be. Moment you try to impress her, you place her above you. You start performing. You shift from authenticity to approval-seeking, and that energy is always felt. Real attraction doesn't come from trying too hard. It comes from being deeply rooted in who you are, with no need to prove anything. A Stoic man doesn't need to showcase his worth. He lives it. His habits speak louder than his words. His presence is shaped by consistency, self-control, and purpose. He doesn't talk about how disciplined he is. He just wakes up and does the work. He doesn't boast about being different. He simply shows it through silence, through action, through calm. Trying to impress often comes from fear. Fear of losing her, fear of not being enough. But when you focus on becoming impressive for yourself, your confidence grows from within. You speak less, but every word lands. You do less, but everything you do has weight. As Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. In other words, don't chase validation, chase mastery. Let her wonder why you're so composed, why you don't brag, why you don't compete for her attention. Like everyone else, she'll notice, because the man who quietly owns his life without needing applause creates mystery, gravity, and lasting attraction. He doesn't impress by performance, he impresses by presence, and that presence lingers long after he leaves the room. 14. Let her feel your absence. Speaks louder than words. Presence may win attention, but absence reveals value. When you step away not out of spite, but from strength, you give her space to feel what your silence carries: weight, meaning, and clarity. A man who can disappear without anger or explanation holds a different kind of power. Most men overstay. They talk too much, fix too fast, or chase too hard. But a Stoic man knows when to lean back. He knows that silence, when used with discipline, creates depth. It creates contrast. And in that contrast, she starts to notice, what did I lose when he left? Absence allows reflection. When you're no longer available on demand, your time becomes valuable. Your attention becomes rare. And rarity creates desire. It's not a game, it's a principle. What is easily accessible is often taken for granted. As Marcus Aurelius reminded us, think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly. Don't spend your time begging to be seen. Spend it becoming better in the shadows, so when your presence returns, it feels earned. When you let her feel your absence, you let her confront her own emotions without interruption. Maybe she realizes how much peace you brought. Maybe she understands what she overlooked. Either way, your silence speaks. And if you've built yourself well, your absence will echo louder than your words ever could. That echo is what you keep thinking about, again and again. 15. Walk away when you're not respected without drama. Makes a deeper impact than quiet self-respect. When a man calmly walks away from disrespect and with anger, not with words, but with stillness, he draws a line that can't be crossed. That moment stays with her, because most men argue, most men beg, but the Stoic man simply exits. When you're not valued, when your effort is overlooked, or your boundaries are disrespected, not to teach her a lesson, not to make her chase, but because you know your worth. And worth never explains itself. Walking away with dignity shows emotional maturity. It tells her, I don't need to convince you of my value. I already know it. That energy is rare. It forces reflection. It separates you from the noise. Seneca wrote, a wise man is content with himself. He doesn't need validation. He doesn't seek revenge. He just quietly removes himself from what no longer serves his peace. When you walk away without drama, without slamming doors or sending long messages, you show your strength in silence. She may not realize what she lost immediately, but she will, because you left a void where calm, strength, and presence used to be. And once that's gone, she starts thinking, not just about what happened, but about who you were. The man who didn't beg, the man who simply disappeared, because respect wasn't mutual. That kind of exit isn't forgettable. That's how you become the man she can't stop thinking about. Not by noise, but by quiet, powerful self-respect.